Time now is 6:23. It is 37 degrees, getting a little colder. Costumes, candies, and scary stories. Halloween is creeping up on us.
And for a real hair-raising experience, you might want to venture downtown on All Hallows Eve to do some ghost hunting, as author Laurel Downing Bill recently told James Gaddis and I, be prepared to potentially be scared.
Anchorage can trace its oldest unsolved murder back to its first police chief, John Jack Sturgus, who was murdered in downtown Anchorage in 1921. Some people say, though, that his spirit still lingers around the downtown area.
So at least we're talking about a good ghost, potentially. So where does his story begin?
His story begins when the City Council decided they needed to crack down on crime, and they established their police department in December of 1920. They went through a few applications and chose Sturgus to be their #1 cop. The 60-year-old peace officer took his job January 1921. And then on February 3rd that year, the Anchorage Daily Times came out with a news story that said the City Council had urged him to crack down on gambling because they had heard a lot of stories of open gambling going on in cigar shops, in soft drink emporiums, as other pool halls and other places like that in Anchorage. So armed with his marching orders, our police chief set out to patrol the streets of Anchorage for the next few weeks.
Booze, gambling, cracking down on all the fun stuff, but it sounds like then he may have stepped on the wrong toes along the way.
Yeah, 3 weeks after that newspaper article appeared, he was shot in downtown Anchorage. Anchorage's first butcher, Oscar Anderson, reported that he had seen the chief walking along 4th Avenue heading toward E Street. Well, a few minutes later, Sturgus was laying mortally wounded at the bottom of the stairs at the back of the Kyvig building, which housed the Anchorage drugstore and is now near the Anchorage Hotel and that alley next door. Well, a night watchman had seen, or not seen, but he heard groaning and he saw a figure laying on the ground, but he did not go over to investigate. Instead, he told a Mrs. Baxter about it. Well, she rushed over to the scene and knelt down beside the chief, and he recognized her and called out her nickname, Ma. Well, she ran then and got some rescuers who arrived on the scene, and they saw the chief's gun, his little Colt revolver, laying in the snow next to him. His shirt or his jacket was wide open, and they noticed that a bullet wound had pierced his chest on the left side at his breast pocket. One of the rescuers, as they were carrying him to the Richter Hotel and Bathhouse, heard him groan and talk about his head hurting, and then also he uttered, "Oh, Bobby, Bobby."
Maybe a sign. So unfortunately, we've kind of alluded to it, though. Efforts to save him would not be enough.
That's right. Firefighters rushed him to the hospital in their new hose wagon, but doctors did work on him to try and stop the blood from this wound, and he complained about the bright lights and his hands getting cold, but he never responded to repeated questions about who had shot him. And our police chief died at 10:50 that evening without ever giving up who shot him with his own gun.
Wow, so would they ever find the killer? Ever?
They offered a $1,000 reward, and the City Council ponied up another $950, but no, his murder is unsolved to this day. The chief is buried along the iron fence facing Cordova Street. However, they say that perhaps his spirit still lingers around the Anchorage Hotel and that alley next door where he was shot.
Story looks like the ghost Bobby might have gotten into our system.
We had a ghost in the system.
Like Laurel Downing Bill said, at least, you know, if his spirit does linger, it's a good ghost. Yes. He was here to protect us when he was alive, so, you know.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Protect and serve.